We'll start with a Vipassana practice, and we'll continue in a similar way as the last session, that is to do a Vipassana practice on the basis of awareness. So again, we're going to start by just simply resting in awareness and do a little bit more investigation. This time we'll keep it nice and short, 15 minutes. Preparing the body. And preparing the mind. Resting your gaze in the space in front of you. Releasing all appearances. Allowing the mind to come to rest. Resting in awareness. knowing that you're aware. The awareness you're resting in, does it have any physical characteristics at all? For example, does it have a particular color or shape? Just look. Does awareness have a particular location? Does awareness have a center? Does it have an edge, a limit, or a border? Is there anything outside of awareness? And then release all investigation and just rest. Resting in awareness. Any questions before we go to this evening's topic?
I think I'm confused a bit with terminology.
Okay.
What's the difference between awareness, stillness, consciousness, and mind? Because they all feel like they're starting to become the same term. And
Yeah.
in meditation, awareness for me felt like a trait, like intelligence or something you would describe someone as, rather than it being consciousness.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned that earlier. This word awareness is often used in different ways, so that's part of the confusion. But when we speak very generally, awareness, mind, consciousness, same. And stillness is a quality of that, of mind, consciousness, awareness. Mind, consciousness, awareness doesn't move. It's the content. So awareness itself is like the sky, it doesn't move. So stillness is a quality.
Okay, so when this meditation, we're actually doing meditation on the mind.
Yeah, resting in the mind, resting in the consciousness, resting in awareness. Yeah. But generally, in this practice, they tend to use the word awareness, because often when we use the word mind, people start conceptualizing thinking and emotions, and because that's what often people relate mind to. Whereas awareness doesn't have that strong correlation. So it's better, I think, in this practice to use the word awareness.
Awareness is not impermanent?
It's impermanent.
Because you said it doesn't move.
It doesn't move, meaning that it's stillness, but that doesn't mean it's not impermanent. Okay, let's go to this evening's topic. So for this, I want to go back to this suffering and its causes chart that we looked at earlier in the retreat.
Can we investigate to look at its impermanence?
Sorry?
One question.
Yeah, we can do. I mean, we did that this morning, didn't we?
No, to look at the mind. One of the questions will be: is it moving or?
You can ask all sorts of questions here. So just to briefly go through these 6 steps again, and then what I want to do is have a look at short-term strategy. Because remember, we said that this 6 steps is describing how we are stuck in this state of dukkha due to our mental afflictions, particularly our distorted view of reality. So if we want to overcome our mental afflictions and suffering, we need to eliminate distorted view of reality, which of course is the Vipassana practice of emptiness. So to do that, of course, that could take quite a long time to do that. So therefore, while we're working on that long-term strategy, it would be good to have an effective short-term strategy where we can at least reduce the impact of this process, because basically we don't really want suffering. But let's just go through the steps again so we have them clear in our mind. So step 1, the first point there was seed of ignorance. So here the word ignorance is this grasping onto independent me, independent world. And seed means habit. So we have the habit of this false grasping, and we've had that since we were born and well before, according to Buddhism. And then when we look out on the world, everything appears to exist completely independent of us. This is what's called dualistic appearance. There appears to be subject-object duality. But this view of emptiness is saying that things are not existing like this. So this appearance that we are receiving is deceiving us. So that's why it's called mistaken dualistic appearance. And of course, everything always appears to us in this way. So there's no reason for us to question appearances, so we never do. We just accept, which is step 2, ignorance. And of course, this is not an intellectual thing, it's instinctive. and we said that in every experience we have, one mental factor that is always present is this mental factor of feeling. Which experiences things as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Neutral just means neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So again, using the example of the flowers, they appear to exist completely independent of us. We have the habit of that. We just accept that. Yep, there's flowers there. And let's say we're having a pleasant experience when we see those flowers. That pleasant experience, together with the belief that those exist completely independent of us, will lead us to assume that there must be some attractive quality there causing my pleasant feeling. So we'll see them as inherently attractive. But this view of emptiness, of course, is saying this is a misconception. And of course, if we see them as unattractive, if we have an unpleasant experience, together with the belief they're independent of us, we'll naturally believe that there's unattractive quality there. We'll see them inherently unattractive, or neutral experience, inherently neutral. And once we get to step 3, of course, step 4 easily follows. Because if I'm having a pleasant experience, I want pleasant experiences. Those flowers seem to be causing my pleasant experience, so I want those flowers. Attachment. Or if I'm having an unpleasant experience, I don't want them. Those flowers seem to be causing them. Get them out of here. Aversion. Or if I'm having a neutral experience, they'll just simply reinforce my mistaken belief that those flowers exist independent of me, which is ignorance, but here often we see the word confusion. So confusion is confused about how they exist. So the word confusion has the same meaning as ignorance. So these are the 3 poisons. These are the core mental afflictions. All other mental afflictions come out of one of them or a combination. That's what's driving our behaviour. And every action we do based on a mental affliction, according to Buddhism, has a result. The results of our actions are our experiences, and our experiences, the Buddha described them using the word dukkha, which is normally translated as suffering. So what we saw there, of course, was that to overcome mental afflictions and suffering, we need to get rid of ignorance. And that, of course, is done through the Vipassana practice of emptiness. That could take quite some time. So what I'd like to do now is have a look at an effective short-term strategy. What can we do at each one of these stages to avoid going to the next step? Because we don't want to end up down here in suffering. And we already mentioned, I think in the last session, something we can do even before step 1. And that is, now as a beginner, if there are certain situations or people or objects that whenever we come into contact with them, we're always overwhelmed in a negative way, strong craving, strong anger, jealousy, whatever. There's no point in unnecessarily entering into those situations because they just overwhelm us. So one effective short-term strategy could be for heavy negative influences to give yourself some space from them while we're working on our mind, so that later we can go into those more difficult situations and not get overwhelmed. And in fact, at the higher end of the path, when we're really going quite advanced in the path, we'll actually need to search out those difficult situations to test us to go further. But as a beginner, we don't need them because we can't handle them. They just overwhelm us. We just get caught up in more and more negativity.
But are they coming to us? We are not searching them, but
Sometimes we search them. So, of course, if they come to us, then we need to try and deal with them. And that's what we're going to look at here. Sorry?
almost every day.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, if we've got strong craving for something, we go search for it. Strong craving for food, let's go to the bakery and get some more donuts. Let's go out and do this. Let's go there. Let's go to the pub and drink some more alcohol. You know? Let's go chase after that person I like. No? I think we do that. So what we're saying is that's not a good strategy. Let's say though we've come into contact with something and we're at step 1. What can we do, if anything, now at step 1 to avoid going to step 2? So whatever it is appearing to exist completely independent of us. We have the habit of believing that. Can we do anything now to stop grasping onto that appearance? Well, there's nothing to do.
Go to sleep.
Impermanence. I'm not sure that will help with this.
Maybe just remember the dream analogy.
Yeah, so remember earlier we said that emptiness practice has 2 parts. Space-like emptiness is meditation, and illusory-like emptiness practice. This is a good place to do this. Is when something appears to us, and it really appears like it's completely independent of us, we can question that appearance. We can only do that, of course, if we have some understanding of emptiness and some experience. Otherwise, we would never question it because we think it's like that. But if we have some understanding of emptiness, particularly if some practice of emptiness, then when things appear to us to exist completely independent of us, we can question that appearance. Where is that object there? You know, like the example of the star. Where is the star in the basis? Where is the flower that seems to be there? Search. And that can help to release the grasping. But let's say we didn't manage to do that, and we got to step 2. Now we're grasping onto that, whatever it is, as independently existing independent of us, and now we're experiencing